Well, today is the 12th of September. Once again, I'm sitting on my front porch at 8 a.m. having my cup of coffee. Boy, what a crazy couple days, right? World event wise, right? I wanted to reflect on something real quick. I was thinking about various things in American history that were catalysts that set off things. There was the sinking of the Maine, sinking of the Lusitania, each one of those was an excuse to drag us into a war. And there's some debate that it was staged, which wouldn't surprise me. And Pearl Harbor dragged us into World War II. And 9/11 dragged us into a perpetual, never-ending war in the Middle East, invading countries that had nothing to do with anything. And what is the point I'm trying to make? Well, the assassination of Charlie Kirk is one of these pivotal moments. I'm not saying it was staged. I'm not saying it was, some PSYOP operation or anything. I'm not saying that, but what it is, it's a catalyst moment in American history. I have long believed that we are on the cusp of another civil war, and it's an ideological war. Oh, and I should mention Fort Sumter started the Civil War, the American Civil War. But this next Civil War is a cultural war, and it really is against. And when it comes down to it, it's the sane against the insane. The normalcy versus fallacy. I could use some more broad incendiary terms, words, which I would prefer to use. I don't have a lot of use for mentally deranged people. I don't. There are people who are genuinely mentally ill, that there is a physical problem with their brain that's causing problems. There is definitely that. There's trauma-induced behavioral issues in some people, which is obvious. I'm sure we all know about this, and you might be a victim of some of that yourself. But this thing with Charlie Kirk is bigger than that. Basically, he has kind of galvanized even people who really didn't know who he was. He's kind of galvanized across racial lines and gender lines and actually age lines. He's really kind of galvanized what I would call normalcy. I did not consider him a right-wing activist. He was just normal. Charlie Kirk 20 years ago would just been considered just a normal dude, a normal guy, normal person. And I'm looking at the vitriol that's coming online, that's been poured out towards him. And I saw one person made a comment like, Charlie Kirk? talked about Jesus. I never saw him talk about. All he did was sniff Trump's butt or something like that. And I replied to him saying, you obviously never, no, it's obvious you really never watched anything he did. Now, I'm not a guy that followed this guy, but he showed up a lot in my YouTube feed. I don't watch TV. I'm a purveyor of YouTube. I listen to it when I'm driving. I got my favorite people, one of my favorite subjects. I use YouTube to learn things and how to fix things and do things that I never considered in my skill set. So, it's a tool like anything else. But I came across the guy enough where I listened to him, and nothing he said was crazy. But boy, oh boy, some of the people that came up to stand in front of that microphone were nutcases. It wasn't hard to see. Men dressed as chicks and just pissed off young women and my body, my choice. Young harpies. Good God, no man in his right mind would want to lay with one of those things. No man in his right mind should lay with a woman like that. Harpies you don't want harpies. Ugh. I guess the point is one of the things I've noticed is that these men who fancy themselves women get violent. They behave more like men than they do women. Haven't you noticed this? The women that are kind of like men, they don't behave like this. Why is that? Well, statistically speaking, men, we're more prone to anger issues and physicality, where women aren't. So, you can put lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. You can put a wig on a pig and put lipstick and earrings, and it's still a pig. The point I'm trying to make is we have reached this. Charlie Kirk's assassination is a pivotal moment in United States history, and it will go down as a pivotal moment in United States history. I really do believe that. I think Charlie Kirk, as a Christian, was kind of prophetic, considering the organization he formed was called Turning Point. And he ended up being a martyr for the cause, for conservative causes, also for the Christian cause, because truth says you will be, blessed is he who's persecuted for righteousness' sake. For righteousness' sake. Right? Be glad when all manner of men speak ill of you. Jesus was really specific about behaviors and things and how you conduct yourself. And there is nothing I saw in any of Charlie Kirk's videos that made him hateful. Now, there's a lot of people online that say, oh, he was hateful and he's misogynistic and he's this and he's that and he's blah, 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 blah. Man, I even seen that from some black people saying he was racist and so on and so forth. And Charlie Kirk said I saw one thing where he said, if I'm on a plane, I see a black pilot, makes me wonder if it wasn't a DEI hire. And truth be told, I probably wouldn't say that, but in my mind, I would be thinking, I bet that guy was in the military, because most pilots, commercial pilots, are military. We're Air Force pilots. But I do understand what he's saying. Nobody wants a DEI hire. Do you want a DEI hire brain surgeon? Do you want a second-rate brain surgeon? Let me tell you something. You don't generally look at the credentials of somebody that you're putting yourself under, but you want the best person for the job. I could kind of go into that with, I had 3 eye surgeries that have left me blind in my left eye, and they were designed to keep me from going blind, and the surgeries made me blind. I don't have any recourse. And you think you were getting the best doctor, and you really weren't. But how did you know? You don't know. turns out there was another doctor there that I should have went with. He had a different procedure for something. I paid a price. The point being is Charlie Kirk is now a martyr in many ways, and he's an icon in many ways that will last for a very long time, because God kind of does that with martyrs. They historically get recognized, and they change the world. And the church was built on the blood of martyrs. And what happens with martyrs is other people rise up to take his place, usually tenfold. And it's like a rallying cry. I'm not going to let people do this to me. I'm not going to let them get away with this. I am going to stand up. I'm going to be accounted for what is right, blah, 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 blah. And that's what you're going to see. So I wanted to touch on that. I think that's kind of an important thing. It doesn't change. And here's the other thing that's going to come out of it. There's going to be a lot more jackanapes coming out of the woodwork trying to do the same thing. They're going to go after Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly and anybody that's got a prominent voice, because that's what they do. They want to shut up the voices because they make sense. If you can't win the argument, you silence the voice. And you take out all your opposing forces. And it's like I said in my last video, Maoists, Stalinists, Leninists, Bolsheviks, they all do the same thing. Hitler did the same thing. But like I said, Hitler was a Boy Scout compared to some people in history. Really was a Boy Scout. I can go on and tell you why that is, but that's probably a video for another day. And it makes me sad, it makes me angry, and I guess what makes me want to make this video is, I'm going to tell you right now, we'll see what happens. I've been wrong before. The guy that shot him, I will bet you, is a member of some kind of, is part of the trans community. I'm telling you right now. And they're probably having a hard time finding him right now, because he decided he's going to switch personas and put female clothing back on and lipstick. He's going to dress himself back up in drag and go back out there. He's going to be hiding in plain sight. And it does make me wonder if they're even going to get this guy. I think it's just a matter of time. Because I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to track down every vendor of that shirt he was wearing. They are going to track down every vendor of that shirt that guy was wearing. And they are going to find every address that shirt was shipped to. I'm telling you, because that's what I would do. And it's easy to do now with the computers and AI and all that stuff. That's easy to do. They will track down every single vendor of that shirt. And they will narrow it down to a particular area and various people and age groups. And they'll get them just for that shirt. I'm telling you. But this guy's probably dressed up as a chick somewhere. Living his best life, thinking he's a hero. I hope they get him alive. But these guys tend to they tend to, in reality, they're cowards and they're just gonna, it's ridiculous. But I do hope they get him. And I hope Charlie Kirk inspires people to stand up for what they believe in. Don't be afraid to express your opinions and your beliefs. I don't do it too much face-to-face. I'm too confrontational. I don't have the discipline to not get out of hand. And I don't have the discipline not to get insulting. And it's best just to keep your mouth shut if you can't be kind about it. And I can't be kind with a lot of things. It's just kind of who I am. I recognize that in me, and it stops me actually from being it actually prevents me from, in a lot of ways, from being a good Christian witness. One of the things I admired about Charlie Kirk is he was well versed in anything he talked about. He was well versed. He could counteract any argument in a lot of ways. I mean, I watched enough of his stuff to say this guy's a pretty smart guy. And then I got people saying he's not intelligent. Oh my God. You know, part of being an intelligent person is recognizing your strengths and weaknesses and staying in your lane. I know how to stay in my lane with the things that I am aware about. I know what I can speak with authority on, and I know what I can't speak with authority on. So, anyway, I guess that's kind of why I wanted to come on here and say that, you know, this guy is going to hide and dress as a chick, and maybe I'm wrong. And in the end, somebody knows. Somebody knows. Somebody knows who this guy is. I even was thinking, as I was looking at his pictures, he might even dyed his hair. And I know right now that the guy is pretty nimble. If he jumps off that roof like that, hangs off the roof and does that, that guy isn't... He wasn't like the last Joker in Pennsylvania that tried taking out the president. That guy was a patsy, 100%. Anyway, that's my thought for the day. I'm in a much better mood today. Anyway, till next time.